Now, this one is tricky.
They definitely put in the effort, as you can see in all the cutscenes, text, and such, that this was definitely well thought out. But it's basically the same story retold again. The Zelda series is notorious for doing that. If you haven't played the other Zelda titles, this will probably interest you.
The fact is, though, you have probably seen the story a million different times told in a million different ways. So it's nothing new. Now, if you're the kind of gamer who wants to skip straight to the action, you will not like this game. There's plenty of story, and it's not too much for the average gamer, but it's definitely too much for those specific type of gamers. Compared to other Zelda titles, this is around the same. But nothing that's done differently, like in Majora's Mask or Twilight Princess. For story, I give it a 3 out of 5. Keep in mind that in my reviews, difficulty is not just about how hard the game is, but what type of hard. For example, if it's frustrating, it will not get a good score. How rewarding is it, etc. Stuff like that. Now, if you know your way around the Legend of Zelda series, this should be one of the easier games to play. If you are a Zelda noob, this game should be challenging. The most important thing about this game, though, is that it's fun. The difficulty does not get in the way of the overall experience. This game will throw some challenges your way. For example, the first time in the Forsaken Fortress, you have to sneak your way around because you lost your sword while being launched. This is challenging considering the patience you have to have while being stealthy. Every once in a while you run into things like this, but overall it's not that big of a deal. Now overall the challenges that you face in the main story should be rewarding, but if you take the extra time to do all the side missions, you will not be disappointed. A 4 out of 5. One thing Nintendo definitely knows how to do is to make a good game have good gameplay. Now the controls are just as good as ever, with a few new touches to the swordplay that makes killing enemies even more fun. Now I found one thing that bothers me, and it's not a big deal, but the axis on the camera for the C-stick can't invert. What that basically means is you can't change it to go left when you go right. I never noticed this problem before, but after playing some first-person shooters in recent years, as weird as it sounds, I expect the camera to turn left when I go to the right. It's really hard to explain, but for some people, this will annoy them. Not the whole game, but the first couple of times you play, which should be the first couple of levels. After that, though, it no longer becomes an issue. That's really nitpicking, though, and overall, this game's controls are great. But how about the rest of the environment and how it plays out? Now, for a Zelda game, this is above average, as they had some awesome things here and there, such as the ability to crawl outside of a hole, and while you're crawling, to go into first person. You can actually pick up other enemies' weapons, and that is satisfying. Nintendo definitely did some extra work here, and it really shows in the controls and the way everything works in the game. A 5 out of 5. Now, this is the last thing that'll be mentioned. This, in particular, is where the game is really rewarding. Because when you beat the game, not only are there tons of side missions, but along with that, there are rewards after you beat the game for a second time through. From what I remember on the second playthrough, you can play the game without Link's green tunic. And with the costume he was given in the first level. Not what you were thinking. From what I remember, you also start off with a color camera. And if you did not get that in the first playthrough, well, you have it now. And in the forest area, there's a place where you can go trade pictures to this guy. And he will give you trophies for the characters. This could take up a lot of time, and will make you hooked on the game for months. Possibly a year after you finish. I was. Although, I used to have no life, but enough about me. Now, the parts on the sea are fairly tedious, but it does not take away from the overall experience enough to make you not want to play the game. This game will keep you playing long after you're finished. And that is why, for replay value, I give it a 5 out of 5. This was a game that was highly debatable for its graphics, but in reality held the core gameplay that everybody craved. A 4.4 out of 5.